Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So today I want to discuss the number one question that I get asked when it comes to being transgendered. I get asked from men, women, guys, girls. I get mostly asked from guys because guys are just naturally curious and they're not afraid to be in your face and ask you questions, where women, on the other hand, they're more on the polite side and they're trying not to offend. The number one question I get asked over the years is, when did you decide that you wanted to be a woman? How did it all start? And I always answer the question the same way over the years. I didn't choose to be a woman. I didn't choose to be a woman. It chose me. I didn't choose to be a woman. It chose me, if you know what I mean. To give you a little bit of my background, I was brought up into a very religious household where religion was everything. If you didn't do what was expected of you, and if you didn't follow the Bible, you were going to go to hell. I remember I would go to Sabbath school and I would be so bored in Sabbath school. It was just a hard time for me, growing up in that family because they were so religious and everything in the Bible, if you don't do this, it's a sin. If you don't do that, that's a sin. And it was very hard and lonely for me. And from the time I was born, I knew there was, from the time I understood guys were guys and girls were girls and life and body, I knew there was something different about me. I knew I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was something different about me. And I'm pretty sure other people around me knew there was something different about me as well. I never felt comfortable with doing things that boys were supposed to do. I was always drawn to the girl side. I played with dolls, you know. I never felt comfortable with doing boy things. I never liked playing baseball and, doing all rough and tumble and climbing trees and all that stuff that boys did. I just never liked it, and I never liked participating. I always liked being with the girls and playing with dolls. And even when we would play house, I was always the girl. And I just knew there was something, different about me. And I would say, I didn't know what was going on with me, and it was just so hard, especially with growing up around religion. And I tried very hard to suppress what I was feeling. I, went with girls and, try to suppress the whole feeling. But it never went away because, it was always just there. I never felt right. I always felt like, this is not my body. This is not my body. This is not my body, you know? And when I was with girls, I don't regret being with girls, but here's the thing. It was never where my heart and soul was. Never where my heart and soul was. When I would kiss a girl, my heart and soul was not into that. When I would have sex with a girl, my heart and soul was not into that. When I was with a guy, I remember the very first guy I kissed, and it was like, wow. It was like I saw, you know, butterflies and it was, birds flying around. And I remember we kissed in the teacher's supply room. And it was just such a magical moment, even though we never discussed it ever again. We never even, we couldn't even look at each other after that. I just knew that was what, I was into. At the same time, I'm like, does that make me, I was like, no, I can't be gay because I don't feel like a boy wanting a boy. I don't, it was such a confusing time, especially in high school, because in high school, everybody's got their own little cliques. Everybody's trying to figure out who they are and, be in their own little group. And it was such a lonely time for me because there was no one like myself around. There wasn't even an openly gay person. Nobody wanted to be different. Nobody wanted to be seen as different, you know? And here I was, wearing the most flamboyant outfit, wearing the most loudest stuff, to say, look at me, which is kind of funny because I'm a very shy, quiet person. I was a very shy, quiet person in high school. I still am very shy and quiet. I did not want to be noticed, but I was wearing these very flamboyant, outrageous, fashion that I created myself. I just wanted to. I felt comfortable with wanting to be me, and it made me lonely because people were afraid to be seen with me. They were very afraid to be seen with me. I remember one time there was something going on and they want all the class to sit together in the assembly room. And nobody, you're supposed to sit with your class. And nobody from my class wanted to sit next to me. I had to sit on the bench by myself while all the other groups were sitting with the class. And at the same time, you had these boys who were like calling me, names. Like the number one name they called me in high school was he, she. And it just made me hurt so much. And these were the same guys who were like, when they were by themselves, they were like, you know, I like you. I like you, I'm attracted to you. These are the same guys that, go in the bathroom, let's go have some fun in the bathroom. And when they're with their friends, they pretend they didn't know me, which hurt. And the funny thing is, those guys were doing the same thing as the other guys, and neither one of them knew about each other. And I just felt so lonely. So lonely and confused, like, what am I? I knew that I can't be gay. No, I don't feel gay, Around that time when I was 14, I started to, move more into the makeup and the hair. And then when I was 15, I decided, you know what? I'm going to completely live the rest of my life being a woman. Because I felt comfortable with wearing girls' clothes and doing girl things. And I remember I showed up at school, very, just showed up one day completely girl, hair, makeup. And I remember the teacher would always send me home. And my foster mother would be like, why are you home? Well, the teacher told me to come home. And she would call the teacher, and the teacher would be like, no, can't come back until I remove that makeup and wear proper clothes. And I would still go to school all the time, and they'd be like, bathroom. Don't go to class until you come to the office first and let's see your face because we want to make sure you're not wearing any, and I kept doing it and doing it till they finally gave up. Till they finally gave up and had a meeting with my worker and my foster parent. And, they're like, okay, we're not going to bother you, However, you cannot use the girls' bathroom if you want, you can't. And, you're making the kids uncomfortable. But it wasn't that I was making the kids uncomfortable. It was that the teachers and the principal were uncomfortable. it was just a crazy thing that, you know, there was no one around who, no transgendered person, what we call transgendered people today. There was none. There was no openly gay. Everyone was just what everyone thought they're supposed to be. And here I am. It was just hard. You know, it wasn't until I was 18 that I found I met someone who ran this magazine, and she was the photographer and editor of this magazine. And she said to me, actually, sorry, he, he said to me, you know, I'm trans. I'm a transgender man. And I was like, what? What is that? And then he explained it to me and told me, you know, I'm a transgendered person, and said, you know what? I have this magazine that I want you to be on the cover for, and I want you to write your story of how it is in high school. And I was so happy to finally, as much as I don't like labels, I was so happy to finally know what I was. I was so happy to finally, oh, that's what I am. I'm transgendered. And I remember I wrote the article, posed for the cover, and I was just so happy to finally tell my story. I want to say this. For me to be who I am, I had to be selfish, because if I stopped and think about what my family say, what will so and so say, I would never be this way. And if I had to live my life as a man, it would have been, I would end up very miserable, lonely, depressed. I could not go on for the rest of my life living as a man. I've been this way, living as a woman, since I was 15, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You look at my identification, female picture, female name, because that's me. That's me. I was approved for sex change, and I decided not to do the sex change because I don't know if this is going to make sense to you guys. I have this fantasy dream of giving birth, going through a menstrual cycle. And I know it's totally impossible, it cannot happen. But that's how I feel. And when I look at the whole sex change things, my my male genital is still going to be there. It's not gone. I don't, it's not gone, and it's not. And I know a lot of people, when they go through sex change, they're happy, and I'm great that they're happy. But your male genital is still there. All they do is just, create a vagina out of your male genital, mutilate your male genital to create a vagina. I want a real vagina. I don't want, an artificial looking vagina. I don't want an artificial, but my penis is still going to be there. It may not look like it's there anymore, but really it's still going to be there. And I know I'll never have a real vagina, but that's how I see it in my mind. So that's why I said, and the other reason too is a lot of complications. Some people, go through the whole thing and they end up, it's not functioning. I don't want that. I see a real vagina. That's what I want. And I know it's impossible, but that's how I see it. It might not make sense to you guys, but that's how I see it in my head. How I feel about myself as a woman. With dating, dating was hard because having to explain to, when you like someone, what you are. And I remember 3 of my exes did not know what transgendered was and any of that stuff. All they knew was straight and gay, maybe bi, but they didn't know anything about transgender.